everyone. This is the Goffstown Budget Committee on November 4th, 2025. We are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will do a roll call.
Israel Carey.
Jack Carbonell, School Board Representative.
Olivia Welcherdall.
Laura Stevens.
Doug Pounds.
Brian Mazer.
Richard Manzo, Select Board Rep.
Elizabeth DeBrule.
Samantha Kearns.
Rich Darrell.
James Piercy.
Allison DeCesare.
Okay, Mark is excused. Peter Gregokakis is excused. I think that's all I've heard from. So the other people, I'm not sure who we're missing, but we do have a quorum, so we're going to go ahead, and you've probably got the list, so that's fine.
I don't.
Oh, well, they'll figure it out later.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
All right, so we are in the middle of school presentations. Before we start that, I just want to bring up two things. I know that the select board passed a budget last night and that there was a pretty substantial increase in their proposed budget. And I've heard from some members that they are upset by that. I just want to remind everyone, the select board tells us what they think we need. We tell them what we think the community can afford. And it is the beginning of a negotiation. This is not a done deal. So whatever no offense, Richard, but whatever the select board brought forward is not necessarily what is going to be taken to the voters. So I hope people can stay calm and remember that we haven't even started our work yet, and that's our role to play. The other thing, on a similar note, I've also heard a couple of people say in passing that as chair, they expect me to vote for the budget no matter what it is. That is not in law. It may be tradition, but I'm not going to follow that. I'm not going to vote for a budget I don't support. And I hope all of you vote your consciences as well. So I just want to make clear on that. My vote is not a sure thing. And if I vote against it, I vote against it. Anyways, so with that, we are going to turn back to school and start. We're going on to school presentations. Samantha and I are going to move so that we can see the screen. Richard, you might want to swing around too so that you can see the screen. And we will get going. Let's go ahead. So first up, we have our packets, right, Doug? Do you want to tell everybody about these?
Yeah, so in your packets is some information that you requested. First thing is some potential costs that go with potential CRF projects. So again, the closer that we get to actually moving forward with a CRF project, the more we're able to narrow down the cost. So some of these would have been from, pricing out a year or two ago, or some might be from 6 months ago. But again, it's a rough ballpark of where we are with potential projects. The next piece of paper you'll see is you asked for the housing development, what was passed out last year. So this is from March of last year, and it does have potential impact of students, but again, this would be when all the units are occupied as well. Then there is some more information from the state. We believe whenever we can kind of point people in the direction of the state for kind of the facts, that's a good thing as far as what they provide for different school districts, because their goal is to kind of allow their information to tell a story. This one is in regards to more administrative expenses. So Scott Gross put this together, and you can get closer to apples between what the state average is and different towns by adding up kind of the school administration, the general administration, and business services as far as those expenses goes. And as we add those up for Goffstown, that is 10.7%, and which is the same as the state average as well. So it's not necessarily a count per person or exact, type of dollar for dollar, but it is getting closer to what we can get. And I definitely recommend anybody. The state has a lot of great information on their webpage. Information which is kind of static, where you can go on and you can see cost per pupil, but then also some dynamic information where you can easily kind of compare Goffstown to other school districts, and it will give you a personalized graph depending on what information you're looking to get. Same thing online for us. So for those that are watching, again, that if you went to our webpage, if you search like Goffstown School District, and then you brought up our webpage, and if you click on the Finance tab, and then Proposed Budgets, if you go to the school board's proposed budget presentations to the budget committee, everything that we're talking about, well, not everything, these past couple things haven't been in there. But as we go to the presentations, those are in there, as well as the budget with actuals and budget with notes. So all of the numbers that we'll be talking about tonight, and as we move forward in the deliberations later on, those are all part of the webpage for anyone to see. And the last thing that's in there is...
Doug, can I just interrupt you for just a second?
Yep.
One quick caveat on that. If you go to the New Hampshire DOE website, it's very hit and miss on whether their information is up to date. So you really have to pay attention to the dates of things, because I found I work a lot with the DOE. A lot of times the website has not been updated. So not the Goffstown School Board, the state DOE, just pay attention to the notes and the dates on things before you make comparisons.
And then the last thing in your packet is just a hard copy of the presentation that we've been going through and that we're going to finish tonight. So,
Okay,
thank you.
you want to?
Yeah, so
Take
bring
it
up
away.
Bartlett.
Good evening, everyone. I am Suzanne Fishka. I'm the principal at Bartlett Elementary, and this is Darcy Crete, assistant principal. And we're here to present our proposed budget for the 26-27. So, what you see, everyone has this packet? Okay. So the
It's 35, starting on
Thank
page
you.
35 in our packet.
Our current budget, $3,634,373. The base is $3,682,770. The new spending, $18,454. And requested, the total, $3,701,224, with a difference of $66,851. Our new spending increases are mostly our IT line, communications, electricity, and maintenance lines. I'll show more detail in a few slides. This is our historical enrollment from 2019 up and to the estimate for this coming school year. Our projected numbers are staying pretty steady. And as Doug mentioned, we don't know about any of the new developments, whether we'll receive students or not. But our numbers are adequate. As you can see, 181 is, we're able to keep all of our students in the main part of the building with our 10 classrooms, which is ideal. So class sizes, this sheet, we'll have 3 teachers in grade 1, 3 in grade 2, and then 2 and 2 for 3rd and 4th, keeping our higher numbers in our older grades. Really important for our youngest students to be in small class sizes if we can possibly arrange it. So we're fortunate that's that's what we have this year as well. Next slide. So our staffing overview, you can see there our classroom teachers, special education, and then as you'll look through there, we have a number of part-time staff. We share the ESOL teacher, she's district, and we have part-time art and music. We're able to have all of our classrooms see our art teacher and music teacher within 2 days. PE as well. We have currently 11 special education paraprofessionals, and then a part-time regular ed support staff member who works in our school library. And again, share some of those other positions like our school psychologist and occupational therapist we share with the high school, and our school counselor we share with Glen Lake. We have 2 administrators. I'm year-round, and Ms. Crete has a abbreviated contract, or basically school year contract. Next slide. We wanted to just share something we're really proud of, our self-contained flex classroom, and I'm going to ask Darcy to talk a little bit about that.
So our self-contained classroom we built last year. We've had quite a bit of support from Glen Lake, from teachers and staff at Glen Lake, and our BCBA and behavior interventionist Dan Johnson has worked really hard on this with us and our special ed team. Currently we have 2 students that are assigned to this as their homeroom, and we're actually transitioning one more student into this room right now, and then we have several other students that use it as a support room throughout the day. They do a morning meeting down there. There's some co-treating opportunities for speech and OT. Students down here have a modified curriculum, so some of them do an ACE program with their case manager and with their paraprofessional. There's some adaptive classes that go on down there, and there's behavior support, communication support. They teach some self-care needs. We have a swing down there. You can see in one of the pictures. That's our sensory room. There's a squeeze machine. And we're really trying to kind of build up this classroom because there are some students coming up from Glen Lake next year that will also be using this classroom. So it's just something that we've been really proud of this year, and really trying to, make it work in the building, and so that these students are still, they're part of Bartlett. They have buddy classrooms upstairs. They participate, with typical students for specials. They are in lunch and recess with their buddy students. But have a classroom that really meets their needs specifically. So it's been a really great program this year.
The last slide are noteworthy changes. As I mentioned, IT was an increase, additional laptop lease and copier lease, maintenance, toner, and print management, communications, internet, dark fiber, and electricity increase. The increase was based on actuals. Building maintenance, $3,000 increase for a playground fence. I understand that's a repair of the existing fence that we have. And then replacement equipment, piece of equipment for the custodial staff. We do have 2 noteworthy decreases, natural gas, and then our general supplies. And we base that decrease off of actuals. We were able to cut the $3,000 out of what we currently have to propose that decrease. And any questions?
I could just add, and so while I sat with administration, they also made other decreases too. So what you see on the noteworthy changes are things that this administration doesn't really have control over. It's conversations with IT, it's conversations with facilities. Not that they're not part of it, but what they had control over, they were cutting quite a bit. They cut $3,000 from general supplies, $1,000 from the health supplies, $150 from speech supplies, $520 from admin supplies. So there was a lot that they were going through, looking at the actuals, making sure that the actuals were more where they needed to be, and that resulted in a lot of cuts. So if we were just looking at their budget, what they had control over, it would have been a negative budget.
So I have a question. So I know you can't comment on individual students or do anything that jeopardizes their privacy, but without that flex room, where would those students be? Would they be out of district placements? Would they be in the classroom? I'm trying to get a sense of the impact of that room on other students, as not just those students as well.
You're right, we can't comment on the students. But I would say, generally speaking, when you can keep your residents, your community together, that's ideal. And that's why we're proud of this, because these are students who we want them to be part of the community. I feel like we're meeting their needs. They're getting everything they need, plus they have many opportunities where they're socializing with others and finding success. I think when you have a student who is significantly below grade level in a classroom where maybe they're using a device to communicate and the teacher needs to, introduce curriculum that meets the standards for that grade level, it becomes a bit of a mismatch with serving both. So this serves these students' specific needs, and like I said, they have the best of both worlds. They're also able to successfully socialize with their peers in places where it's, appropriate for both.
Is it still, is it a one-to-one, like, do they each have a paraprofessional? So from a
Sometimes.
staffing viewpoint, it's neutral? Like,
Yeah,
if they were
it
in the
did not-
classroom, they'd have a
right,
one-on-one,
right. We have 3 general special ed teachers, and one of them has committed to most of her time in flex. She still has some general special education students, and when I say that, I mean that they are in regular ed classes receiving supplemental supports from her, but not a modified curriculum. So they still receive that grade level curriculum and then supplemental supports in the areas of weakness for that particular student. So she serves both.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is Sam?
Oh,
Oh,
good
go ahead,
question.
Allison, that's all right.
I think well,
That's okay.
we are thinking that it matches, well, number one, Mountain View also uses that term, Maple Avenue uses that term, right? But we said that one day, and I said, let's just say it means flexible, because I'm not sure. I don't think it's necessarily an acronym.
for something that
No,
we just don't know.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Ask that same question at Mountain View, maybe they have an answer.
I see those.
Flexible, there you go, because that's what you have to be, for sure.
Sam, did you have a question?
So, where you guys are requesting $66,000 in increase, but your changes are roughly $27,000. Is that other almost $40,000 of increases? What, is that just, no, it feels noteworthy.
Right.
But,
I think what the way I look at this is that, our current budget is that top number. And then if you look at the base, there's a difference there. And that is what the school calls the default. So there's an increase between that current budget and the base. So that's where those additional monies are. So what new spending is 18,000.
okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So that change a lot of times would be healthcare, the increased costs that we have for that, because we're above 11% at this point, going into next year, as well as the increases that have to do with the paraprofessional contracts, because they're running off of their contracts, so they each bump up per year as well. So that would be a majority of that change right there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh.
Brian?
Yeah, I have a question, and actually this was presented by Wendy, I think on Thursday. It was pertaining to Bartlett, where there was a bar graph of the proficiency tests between last calendar year or school year and, 23 to 24, and then 24 to 25.
Yeah.
And I think it was remarkable to see the increase
Yeah.
of the proficiency test. And to me, it was very striking to see a 20% uplift. So you can add some color to that, because to me, that's a huge uplift in one school year.
Yeah, we're very proud of that. I think, Darcy can add to this, but I think a couple things. One, the difference, having 2 administrators in the building, our goal is to keep the disruption from the classroom so the teachers can teach and the students can learn. So we worked really hard to make sure we had routine procedures in place. that things ran smoothly so that there wasn't a distraction. But we also held the bar pretty high. We expected, because of that low number, we were identified by the state as a school in need of improvement. So we wrote a plan and we expected changes. One of the things that we noted just through conversation is that our students aren't always given the opportunity to try something on their own. So we talked a lot about grappling with challenges, struggling through something, because that's how we learn. So holding the students to a higher standard of, you're going to try this on your own. I know it's not easy. That's how we're going to learn something new.
Yeah.
So I think, it was just there was a lot to it, a lot of attention, a lot of energy put to it. But I think, the teachers should be proud. I think they were pleased with the results and pleased that they were able to really focus on, what they
Teaching.
signed up for,
Right.
the teaching.
Teaching, yeah.
Did you have anything else?
Yeah, I think there was a lot, I think the teachers and the interventionists, like, it was the focus and the drive, and we really made an effort to make sure we were focusing on that instructional piece. And like Suzanne said, minimizing those distractions and really making sure that students were able to be in the classroom, during instructional time. And I think that made a big difference.
Well, thank you, and maybe you could do it again.
We're planning on it. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
Michael App.
Good evening. My name is Bill Demers. I'm the principal at Maple Ave. And so we'll jump into the presentation to start with our budget overview. So our budget this year is $6,722,064. And our base for next year is $6,932,557. New is $20,489, so our total requested is $6,953,046, and that difference is $230,928.
I think we have different numbers than our sheet.
Do I have? Am I using an old
You're using
presentation?
the old presentation. Yeah, so the new,
My apologies.
we had the old presentation, and then
Thank
we
you,
had
Bob.
healthcare. So healthcare then funneled through like most of the lines, quite a bit of the lines. So then it was updated, but there wasn't a lot of other things that were updated.
Sorry about that.
So that's all right.
Thank you, Mr. Bulkey. My apologies. I'll throw this one out after I speak. So I now have the correct numbers in front of me. Do you need me to read those again, or?
No, we can read.
No, we're good.
Perfect. Thank you. My apologies. Next, our historical enrollment. So you can see our numbers there for next year. We're looking at a total enrollment of 493 students. So we're predicted to be down about 10 or so. Our actual enrollment currently is 507. I checked that this morning because we've had some new students enroll since October 1st. So we're a little bit higher than we expected, especially in first grade. We actually had to move some things around in August, and we moved a teacher from fourth grade down to first grade to try to keep those numbers at a more manageable number for our first grade teachers. So we have 7 classes in first grade right now, so our class size is right around 20 in first grade, whereas in fourth grade, due to that reduction in the teacher, we're at a class size of about 26 to 27 in fourth grade. But next year, we're expecting our numbers to go down a little bit, knowing that our first grade enrollment projections are always a little bit of a guessing game without a full day kindergarten program, and with how many kids are going to different daycares and preschools and kindergartens in the area. We make our best guess based on what we've seen from past years. So, last year we were predicting right around the same. I think we were predicted to be right around 115 first grade students, and we had about 25 more register than was expected, which is why we made those changes. So speaking of class sizes, those are our projected class sizes for next year. And we're going to kind of play a fun game with the number of teachers in each. So we're going to have that 7-teacher class go up with first grade as they move into second grade next year. And where our smallest group is looking to be in third grade, we're going to reduce the teacher in third grade, shift them down to second grade. So we'll go back up to 6 teachers in fourth grade next year, and you can see those class sizes are a bit more manageable, especially for fourth grade. Those teachers are quite excited to have those numbers reduced by 4 or 5 students for next year. Our current staffing, we have 24 classroom teachers, so we'll stick with that amount for next year. And like I said, we're just going to shift those around based on the amount of students we have at each grade level. We have 1 reading specialist, 5 special ed teachers, 3 intervention teachers. We have our related service providers there. As you can see, we share our school psych with some of the other schools in the district, so she's with us part-time. We have 24 paraprofessionals, 4 unified arts teachers, and our PE teacher goes to Bartlett 1 day a week to help out over there. 1 nurse, 3 building administrators, and 3 administrative assistants. For our noteworthy changes, we had books and printed materials with a decrease of $9,938. And so when that budget line was bolstered years ago, that was for supplemental materials for the classroom. So it was classroom library books as well as decodable readers to help students who might need some additional support with their literacy studies. And so since those have been bolstered over the past several years, we decided to reduce that because we were finding that the teachers didn't need as many materials as they had in the past because those have been bolstered. So we dropped that down by that amount there. You can see for electricity, we have an $8,900 increase based on actuals. Similar to Bartlett, we have the IT laptop lease and rental, as well as the copying machine increase there of $7,750. For our facility, for our custodians, a square scrub machine, an increase of $5,800 there. And then for communications, a $3,677 increase. And that final line there, what we did is, or what we're looking to do is to take $2,000 of that decrease from the books and printed materials line and to add that in for our 4th grade show course. And so in the past, families have had to pay an admission fee to come see that performance because in order to get the licensing for the music and the stories and the costumes and all that sort of stuff, there's a cost there of about $2,000. And so we charge families to come in to help defray that cost. We would like to avoid having to do that by having to charge families and to be able to just offer that for anybody in their family to be able to come and not have to pay a fee to come in for that.
Is that different than the holiday chorus?
Yes, so the holiday concert is all of our 4th grade students. And so, and they perform that here at the high school, and all the kids participate that, and that's part of the music program. The show course is like an extracurricular activity. So students in 4th grade who are interested in doing that can sign up and actually stay after school once a week for a couple months and focus on the show. So that's kind of more like a precursor for like the theater program at MVMS.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like the other elementary schools, what Maple had control over, they were negative in the budget as well.
So if I'm remembering correctly, is there something also with strings? Strings are offered as an extra or co-curricular?
Co-curricular, yep, that's offered again for 4th graders on Fridays. And students who want to participate that, sign up. You know, Mr. Landano, our music teacher, does prior to the sign-ups kind of an introductory lesson for the students so they can kind of see the different instruments, they can get their hands on them, see what they might be interested in, and then the kids can sign up, and then he works with the classroom teachers to develop a schedule where kids can go in on Fridays to do those performances.
And that's a new thing?
No, that's been...
I was going to say, I thought that we'd had that for a long time.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions?
Okay.
Great, thank you, everyone.
All right, we get the middle school. Coming? Are they coming up?
They're trying to get out of it. Nobody. The shower today. I know, it's just like a lot of us. Good evening. I'd like to start by introducing and thanking my admin staff. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Mark Lacasse, I'm the Dean of Students at Mountain View.
Josh Lewis, Curriculum Coordinator.
Hi, good evening. Lindsay Phillips, Special Ed Facilitator.
Brandy Williams, Assistant Principal. I also just want to take a moment and thank the staff at Mountain View, our custodians, our tech staff, our teachers, our paras, and the kitchen staff for all they do. It's not without their investment that we get to do what we get to do and do it well. So we'll get to the nitty-gritty. So our 2026 budget is $12,647,314. Our base is $12,739,461. And then our new spending is $86,500. And then the requested totals $12,825,961. And that's a difference of $179,647. If we look at our historical enrollment, so for this coming school year, we are estimating 177 students in 5th grade. Currently, we have, and actually we've had a couple of kids enroll in the last month or so, so we have just over 202 students this year in 5th grade. That group will then move to 6th grade, and I know Brian had mentioned budget neutral new staff member to teach 6th grade next year because our class sizes are pretty big. The 7th grade anticipated number is 253, and that's once New Boston joins us, and they actually have a smaller group coming into us for that next school year. And then our 8th grade is looking like 264 students for a total of 896 students. And again, as everyone else has said, we don't know what the new housing development is going to bring. Still could be middle school students. So projected class size for next year, as you can tell, that bubble is in 6th grade. We have are anticipating 22 per class in grade 5, 25 in grade 6, and this is without the new addition, 21 in grade 7, and 22 in grade 8. And
So
then
what does it drop down to if you get that teacher?
20, approximately 20.
Okay.
Current staffing, we have 40 content teachers, and that's 5th through 8th, 4 reading literacy teachers, and a .4 accelerated math teacher, 14 special education teachers, related service providers. We have a part-time OT, a full-time speech and language, school psychologist, and part-time ESOL teacher. We have 13 unified arts teachers, and this includes our world language teachers, and we have 2 of those. 0.5 Title I teacher, and that's in our 5th grade. 29.5 paraprofessionals, and this includes our part-time media support, so our library media paraprofessionals. 4 school counseling staff, 1 per grade level. 1 librarian, 2 school nurses, 5 administrative assistants, and 4 of those are part-time. The 2 front desk people are split the position, and then our 2 kind of behind the scenes admin assistants also split that position, and 5 administrators. Noteworthy changes, and just as Doug said, not a lot of these we have much control over. So our IT replacement equipment is $25,000, and that's for the replacement of our computer lab. Our IT equipment lease is $16,150, and that's an increase due to higher costs for our student laptop lease, and for copiers and maintenance and toner and print management. And then our communications, this is for our analog internet and dark fiber, $11,800 increase. Our math supply increase was $11,370, and that's because of our the math program that we put in place a couple years ago, and it's the big idea of math consumables. Our ground maintenance,
$7,500 increase for the mowing of the hills in the fields. And I would just want to put in a caveat here before I talk a little bit more about building. Our building is beautiful right now. The custodians are doing an excellent job keeping it clean. And as people know, when students feel like they are going to a building that they're proud of, they tend to keep the building nicer too and respect their environment a little better. So I just want to give an extra shout out to our maintenance department and custodial staff. Our electricity, $5,470 increase based on actuals. Our building repairs, $5,000 increase to keep our painting cycle going. And that again goes along with what I said about the building looking nice and children treating it that way. Math software, $3,600 increase for our IXL software for grades 7 and 8. Our 5th and 6th grade already use this software, and because we don't have very much intervention for kids in 7th and 8th grade, this is an opportunity for students to get extra practice in math and language arts. And our new IT equipment, it's $5,000 decrease, and that was, the school board took that part out. And I think that is it.
Your numbers are pretty high. That's the highest, next year's projected enrollment is the highest on that chart.
Yeah.
Where are you on capacity?
We have the space right now. I mean, it gets a little tricky which is why we've asked for the 6th grade teacher, because as they get bigger, fitting more kids into a room. The 5th graders are a little smaller now, but I'm anticipating that's not going to be the case next year. So even fitting them into the classrooms currently is going to be difficult. But right now, we're always looking for space, but we have enough.
Okay. What is the capacity of the building? Isn't it is it close to 1,000 per student?
It's over that because they had
More?
more than that. Yeah, it's higher than that.
1,100 plus.
Okay.
I do know years and years and years ago, there were a lot more students than what we have now.
Okay. Okay. Questions? Anybody?
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Tim Grisone. I'm the associate principal at Goffstown High School.
So as some of you may be aware, Tim was hired in the previous curriculum coordinator position for this school year. He will be assuming the principalship on July 1st. So he's been a member of the team within the current administrative structure that we've had with us since July. And so we've been collaborating with Frank and looking forward to what will be a change for next year. And so Tim has been doing a lot of the pieces that the curriculum coordinator has done in prior years. We will be shifting back to, is the plan, to hire a curriculum coordinator with Frank's retirement in the spring. And in addition to that, he is also working with us on all of the other pieces that we do throughout the year and getting a better understanding of this building and how we operate. So it's been a great transitional piece, and I think it's really going to serve the school and the community well that we've taken this model on this year. Because as you can imagine, 20 plus years of leadership, and it is going to be a shift for all of us. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you,
It's
Ms.
great to
McCann.
have you with us. So budget piece, as we take a look, go ahead, Steve, thank you. You're going to see that for those of you who've been part of this process with us for a number of years now, this is one of the largest increases in new spending that we've brought to you in many, many years. And as was discussed a little bit last week, a very large piece of this is the MST tuition and the anticipated costs that go along with that. So of the $393,000 in new spending, 250 of that is tied to the Manchester School of Technology career educational tuition for our students. About 20,000 of that is facilities, and close to 44,000 of that is IT. And again, that is a piece that was discussed last week relative to the infrastructure and the need to stay on top of that in the age of a lot of the equipment in the buildings. So we're going to talk to you tonight about $80,000 of new spending and how that is tied to actual costs of some of the courses that we have in place and some rising costs in other areas. If you want to, Steve, go ahead to enrollment, you'll see that we do continue to stay pretty consistent, a little bit over that 1,000 mark, and we have been there now for close to 10 years. Class sizes at the high school, those of you who've done this before know it's a little different than some of the other schools. And Steve, if you don't mind going forward, because our schedule is crafted every year based on actual student course requests. So we always start from ground zero with going through that process with students, seeing what courses they are looking to take. Then we compare those requests to our existing staff. We figure out how many sections of everything we can offer, and we build that from that point. And many of our classes can have students in all grade levels in them as well. So it's not as clean as some of the other schools when we're looking at those class sizes. Staffing has stayed pretty flat. Thank you. We have numbers are small here. Yep. Yep, we're at 90.5 full-time equivalent professional staff. This includes our counseling staff. This includes our media specialists, our nursing staff as well. We have 25 paraprofessionals supporting students in programs. This ranges everything from one-to-ones to our self-contained classroom, to students who are receiving additional supports in their academic classes. This also includes our contracted registered behavioral technicians as well as LNAs to support some of our students. We have 6 administrative assistants who work in the building. In addition to our full-time staff, there is also support for the adult education program. 7.5 administrators, that half is the director of the GAP. And then, as you can see with facilities, we have 8 full-time custodians. We have a grounds, and we have 1.5 full-time equivalents of maintenance to support the facility. Questions about class sizes, enrollment, staffing?
No.
Great. All right. So as we look at the financial pieces in this, you're going to see a couple of times that we are going to talk about some of the increased costs that we are seeing. And this is one of the first areas. So under maintenance, there's 2 pieces here. There is an increase for our welding equipment. And this is a class that you're going to see twice in this presentation, our creative welding class. There are increased costs associated with the rentals of the gas tanks that go with that class. And then we are also going to see an increase in the cost of gas to run those classes as well. We also see an increase here in the administrative piece of our maintenance costs, and this is our chemistry equipment. We have 2 full-time chemistry teachers, and we have a chemical closet. And so there is a requirement that we need to periodically go through, right, and clean that out, make sure that any materials that we no longer are using are removed from the building, and that some of those materials also have expiration dates. And these are not disposals that we can just make. We have to have someone with a specialized background come in, and just to have them walk through the door, it's $2,500. And that's before they do the assessment of what needs to go and what the disposal costs for those chemicals are going to be. And this is an increase, and we had them come in, and we had more chemicals that are ready to move out of the building than we had budgeted for, and this happens periodically. So we're looking to increase that line so we can safely remove those from the building and have them disposed of properly. And the rental piece, again, we continue to see some additional expenses with different elements of pieces of equipment that we rent for the building. The $250,000 or $250,000 for MST, you have already talked about a bit, and Brian talked about looking at different options. We are not in a place where we have had to limit student choice with going to MST. We think that the programs and the opportunities there are important for students, and our preference would be to continue to allow all students who made the choice to attend that programming to do so. But it is not something we have not had conversations about different options with. If we go on, Steve, to supplies, the technology education increase, that's the gas relative to the welding class. The $1,000 for physical education is a one-time expense. We have a new course that we are bringing we have brought forward, and we will be looking to run next year. As you might recall, a couple of years ago, we started to make some changes to our phys ed programming. In the past, all students took a phys ed 1 and phys ed 2. And what we have found is that giving students more choice in what that phys ed 2 looks like has really been a positive and productive experience for them. We started with 2 classes. We started with a Walking for Wellness class, looking to establish some lifetime habits for students, and a net gains class for those who were looking for something a little bit more aggressive in their day. And we are looking to add a group fitness class next year. We have the studio space for it in the multi-purpose room, and so we would be looking to purchase some equipment for startup for that. And then in our co-curricular line, there's an increase, a slight increase as well, to support a new co-curricular program, which is Best Buddies. And that is something that we've brought on board this year. And the $1,000 would allow them to run some additional activities for the group, as well as for some of the student peer mentors to attend training and workshops that are offered for those students.
So Kim, what is that actually though?
Yeah, so Best Buddies is a program that is designed to promote some leadership opportunities, collaborative peer opportunities for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So it brings together students from across the building, and it creates some social opportunities both here and outside of the building for them. This morning, for example, the group was here. I think they started a little after 7 o'clock, and they had a scavenger hunt throughout the building. So the kids came in early, and they buddied up with their peers, and they spent a good half hour going through the building, solving clues, and finding some different little treats to start their day.
Okay.
Books and printed materials. This is the first time in a while we've looked for an increase in this. We've kept this line pretty flat for the last few years. You'll see we do usually spend this line pretty darn close down to the penny. We are adding an AP macroeconomics course next year, so this would be a one-time purchase of textbooks for that class, as well as AP Seminar. AP Seminar is a newer course that the College Board is offering, and it is a 10th grade English class for students. And there's about $2,500 worth of text purchases for that. So both the AP Macro and the AP Seminar would be one-time purchases. And then we have a vocabulary program that we use in all of our English classes. And we have seen over the last few years, the price of those texts go from $8 to $13. And so that is the rest of the increase with this. We use that in all of our English classes in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. And so we continue to find success with it, and it is an important component of those courses.
How many AP classes does the high school offer?
We're at 17. Yep. And with that, I would just add, Elizabeth, we put no restrictions on taking those AP classes. You know, we don't set prerequisites. We don't say you can't take that class. You know, we encourage any student who wants to take that challenge to go ahead and do so. Last year, for example, we had 77 11th grade students take our AP Lang class, which was pretty phenomenal. And I would say about 65 of them sat for the test, and they had one of the highest pass rates in the building, which was pretty fabulous. Yeah.
Laura?
Thank you. I'm just curious, I think it's awesome that you're offering in economics. I think that's so cool and so important. What was the decision behind like choosing that over something else that could have been added?
Yeah, so we have had the AP Microeconomics class for a number of years now, and frankly, it's student demand for it. Yep, we've had students who every year have been asking for it. They really enjoy the class. They want to do the other piece of it, and a number of them take it on VLAX independently, and they're looking to do it here. And if I had to guess, in 2 to 3 years, we will probably combine it into one course. So if you don't know the AP curriculum, there's a few classes that are designed as semester courses. But in New Hampshire, it doesn't work. Meaning, when we start in September, if we offered the class the first semester, we would finish the class in late January, and they wouldn't sit for the AP exam until the first or second week in May. So there's a huge gap there between when the class would end and the exam. If we offered it second semester, they're starting the first week in February, and they're still taking that test the first couple of weeks in May. So with the scheduling of school in New England, what we have found is with those classes, we've extended them out. It's allowed the teachers to bring some additional information into the courses, kind of bulk them up. In speaking with the instructor for the AP Economics classes, he really believes that once he's had a chance to go through the class a couple of times, he could run both in one section in the future. And so it would be a class where they would have the opportunity to take micro, macro, and sit for both tests if they wanted to.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. The other piece here on the next slide, Stephen, thank you, is a slight increase. Other pupil services, these are a lot of the costs that are associated with graduation. We have budgeted in other end of the year events, we've budgeted $15,000 for this since 2011. And as you might hypothesize, there have definitely been cost increases in that time, right? If we just think about the police detail alone for this, and the different contracts that have come through there, those costs have gone up, as well as the costs of printing the diplomas, the costs of bringing in decorations, flowers, all of these pieces. But we believe that a $3,000 increase would cover all of those expenses with no issue moving forward.
And students still pay for their own cap and gown.
Yep, yep, they pay for the cap and gown, and then the rest of it are expenses that we cover. The only increase proposed in athletics for next year is $1,200, and this is increase in the athletic trainer, and that's a contracted cost that we have. And then the other pieces of this are the facilities and the technology pieces that are very similar to what you have heard with the other buildings.
questions?
I have
Dan?
I know in terms of vocational tuition, there was one point we talked about Concord. What was the cost difference?
Yeah, so the costs are pretty much the same across all of the programs. The challenge is that the state identifies X number of dollars that they are going to offset these costs. That pool has been on the decline, but the other piece is that across the state as a whole, numbers of students accessing these programs has gone up. So the money that the state is reimbursing for this has shrunk, but total student population in the state of New Hampshire accessing these programs has continued to climb. And so that money gets dispersed across all of those students across the state. So we've kind of taken a double hit in terms of the per pupil reimbursement decreasing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess, well, because so this 250, it's the cost, we're paying that to MST.
Yes, it's the tuition expenses that we have to Manchester.
And so is the tuition that we would pay to Concord High School less?
No.
Okay. Thanks.
And the other challenge that we found is the current structure of their schedule would not work with our schedule. Right now, when a student chooses to attend MST, they're giving up 4 out of 8 class periods here. So they typically, if they go in the afternoon, they have academic classes with us, periods 1, 2, 3, and 4. They have lunch, and then they have travel time, and they attend class. The current structure of the Concord schedule, when they run their, especially their level 1 classes, it would allow students to take just 2 classes here.
Any other questions?
I got a question.
Isaac?
With the change to the reimbursement from the state for the gap classes, is there any way that you're thinking about changing the way it's done?
In terms of?
In terms of if a student fails a class, they have to either do gap or VLAX, they can't take it during the day, and then they still have to pay for it again?
Yeah, so how we got there, there's a few different pieces. What we have found is that when students have not been successful in passing a class with us during the school day, having them take the full class again, 75 to 80% of students were failing the class the second time through. They have attended the class for a full year. For many students, the reason they haven't passed it is because they haven't done enough work for us to fully evaluate them against the standards and the competencies. And when you ask them to then come in and sit and take the exact same class again, where maybe they had a 55 or a 60, when you need a 65 to pass, they're frequently bored. We saw absenteeism in those classes increase with those students. We saw increased behavioral challenges with them, and then we saw a pretty significant repeat failure rate. What we have found is when they go through the GAP, Edmentum, or even VLAX, where they can select the competencies, they don't have to take the full class. It allows them to have a more targeted approach to filling in those pieces that they've missed and demonstrating the skills and the knowledge that we need to see to award that credit. And we also found it's a staffing piece as well, that it would create a need typically for more sections, which would then have led us to have additional staff in some of our departments.
But my other issue is, it's not even an option, they can't even retake the class. If you fail, no matter what it is, it's VLAX or GAP.
Yeah, and that's definitely something, you know, that the board can weigh in on. Yeah.
Olivia?
As far as the GAP program goes, what's the breakdown for enrollment as far as currently enrolled high school students that are repeating classes or people that have already either left the school or returning learners?
Yeah, it varies wildly, quite honestly.
Yeah.
You know, so there are some years that there are some courses that are primarily high school students, and it's both ends of the spectrum. So sometimes it's students who are remediating courses that they took and they did not pass. We have some students who choose to use it to check off classes that are core graduation requirements that allows them to take additional classes during the school day.
Okay.
Right? So a student may choose to do their ICT credit or a PE credit when we offer it through the GAP. So that allows them to take other classes during the school day. So yeah, it's really hard to predict because it is so personalized with that.
Okay, thank you.
I guess, Jack, maybe this is a question for you, for the school board. I guess, to Izzy's point, I mean, it seems like there were two things in Izzy's point. One is that you only have those options to take those classes, but the other one is that the student has to pay for it. I guess my question to the school board is, or maybe the schools, is if that's a required course for graduation, it's different when you're doing an elective, so you can free up your schedule. That's your choice. But if you have to take and pass that course for graduation, can we really charge them? That's my question for the school board.
Okay, I'll ask them. I'm not answering the legal question, though. I know my boundaries.
Okay. Not that I want to give up revenue, but, I mean, okay. Are there other questions? You can respond.
I believe there's ways. I mean, I don't think you pay the full cost of the course. I think you pay a graduated cost, if I'm not correct, or a fixed rate. And
What they charge is not, it's not going to cover the cost of running that course.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's still required for graduation, so it seems like to me that that's part of your public education. Because it's not an elective. It's not a co-curricular. It's not something you do to supplement. It's the thing. You got to pass it, or you don't get your diploma. So.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting legal question, in that the other argument could be the FAPE has already been provided.
True.
Right? You had the opportunity to take the class during the school day. When you look at the level of supports that are available to go along with that. So we have the Grizzly Den that's staffed every period for supports. We have a student resource center that's staffed every period with special educators. We have peer tutors 3-4 days a week after school. There's the homework den. Saturdays from 8 to 12 we provide support. So I think you could also make a strong argument that the FAPE piece has been provided for the students, and that now this is the next piece of it. And honestly, the GAP is separate from Goffstown High School, right? So there's also the free pieces of VLAX, there's Admentum, there's different other options as well that are available through the school.
I don't think that this is really a budget conversation.
Well, I know, that's why I
think it's a
asked.
school
That's
board
why I asked Jack.
conversation for sure, but I don't think us as budget committee members should be questioning the protocol of a school.
Well, it is a budget committee question, because when they send a kid to GAP, that's money that has to be.
It's revenue.
Right, it is
question.
revenue.
Yeah.
But, I mean, their reasoning behind the program, I think needs to go through school board first.
True, but I also think budget committee can ask any questions we want. We can't tell them to change it, but we can ask questions about how does this work and why does this work this way and why was that decision made.
Right, I just think that this is taking kind of a personal tone of questioning specific situations to an administrator.
Okay. Well, not for me, I don't even have kids in this.
So just for people at home to know, the gap prices, it's $150 for a full class and $75 for a half class. But this is definitely something that Jack and we can bring up with the school board as well.
Okay. Other questions? All right. Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So as we wrap it up for the school board, are there other questions in general for the school, the whole district, or? I'll be honest, I'm a little alarmed by this sheet about the housing developments and the potential number of children. I mean, I know you said Maple Ave is full, right? I mean, there's no wiggle room. And I know Bartlett's got, what, 181? Was that your number? So I feel like in past years, it's been close to 200, and it's been full at that point.
So we definitely have some room at the high school and middle school, but the
Okay.
elementary schools are a little bit more full. Bartlett, there's a little bit of room. Maple Ave, though, there's really not many more spaces to go into at this point.
Yeah, and it seems like most of these, well, we don't know the age of these kids, but they're in the Maple Ave district, geographical district, if these were elementary kids.
I would just add that I too am concerned about this. So when we look at the number of potential students, what we saw this year, Mr. Demers shared that we anticipated about 25 less first graders than we actually saw. And so if you get an additional 25 kids and they're spread across multiple grades, you can take them in. There's really no significant impact to our budget. But when you have to add sections, that's where it becomes problematic. It's the volatility. So we don't know when these kids are coming. We don't know who they're going to be. We don't know what the ages or grades are. And then, as I shared last week, I would very much like to do full-day kindergarten in the town of Goffstown. And when we continue to have enrollment increases, it makes it harder and harder and harder for us to do full-day K. The way to do full-day K in most communities has been through decreased enrollment. So if your population goes down, you're able to reassign one of those teachers, repurpose a teacher to be a kindergarten teacher, a full-day kindergarten teacher. So the housing developments continues to push full-day kindergarten further away for the community of Goffstown.
So while we're not budgeting for any new staff, we're budgeting neutral. What we did do was when we looked at our contingency fund at the end of the year, and that's what 5% fund that was voted on that we can keep year to year, we knew that our fund balance was higher than projected. So we were able to both do two things. We were able to max out our contingency fund, and we were able to reduce taxes by a greater amount than we had projected. So our contingency fund is about 1.7 million. So while we don't have any new positions, and while we haven't spent from the contingency fund, if we do see an influx of students, we have I don't want to call it pool for like we're just grabbing from it type of thing, but we have a way to if we need to hire additional teachers, then we can do that. But that's not our goal right now.
And really, if I can just add to that, the contingency fund allows us to be able to be staffing neutral for situations like this. So if we didn't have that contingency fund, I might be looking at this saying, geez, I'm not really sure what enrollment's going to do. I might need another teacher. I mean, another couple of teachers, depending on how enrollments might fluctuate. But when you have that contingency fund, it gives us the ability to know we don't have to come to you and ask for positions that we may or may not need. It just allows us to budget a little tighter.
So, I know, Laura, you have a question. I just have so I'm just trying to sort of make sense of all this because overall, district enrollment is stable down a tiny bit. But elementary enrollment seems to be through the roof. And even at Mountain View, their number was higher than it has been recently. Is it lower in the high school? It is a little bit lower in the high school.
The high school's been pretty stable actually for about the last 10 years. So our enrollment hasn't really fluctuated all that much.
So is there any explanation why the elementary enrollment is so high?
I wish I knew, and I wish I had a model to make predictions of school enrollments. The first thing I would do is I would go and I would use that in New Boston because we struggle all the time trying to know about enrollments, what, how many kids are going to show up, how many sections do you need? It is really, it's something that is very challenging for us to predict. It's really hard to predict. And when you don't have full-day kindergarten, your first grade numbers are always going to be a mystery, because there are so many families that can't send their kids to a 2.5-hour program. I couldn't send my kids. Even though I worked here, my kids didn't attend our own kindergarten program because my wife and I couldn't make it work. We didn't have the support, we didn't have, people to drive, and at that time, there was no busing for midday runs.
Laura, did you have a question? I just to to add on to that is, we'd also need somewhere to put all of those students, right? Because as of now, it's not like if we snapped our fingers and said, full-day kindergarten can start next year. I don't believe we have currently the classrooms.
We don't.
or
So
the
we
space to put
currently
that.
have 4 physical classrooms that are used for kindergarten, and it actually counts as 8 classrooms because there are 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. If we went to full-day kindergarten, I would anticipate that we would go from around 7 or 8 sections up to 10. It would be 10 all day long because those are the numbers of kids that show up in first grade. So we probably would need at least 6 regular classrooms just for the space. And then think about if I was sitting before you asking for an additional 6 teachers, we'd be looking at $600,000. And that would be that would be kind of the base minimum. That wouldn't be any additional special ed support, related service providers, all of those extra services. I really wish we could do it.
Doesn't it need we would need a full cafeteria too,
cafeteria.
right? And
Yeah,
it's a
so
whole new building.
Yeah, we don't have a gymnasium, we don't have a library, we don't have a cafeteria. We could probably do it without a cafeteria. We could, it's not without its challenges. There are ways you can kind of move food back and forth, and but all of those things are true. All of those things are requirements, and we don't have the space for any of them. When Glen Lake School was built, it was built with the premise that it could be added on and you could make it a full day type program. That was how it was originally designed. And just a little history if people don't know, when we passed Glen Lake School, it took 3 votes. And at that point, the state paid 75% of the cost of the building, and they paid the entire first year operational cost for staffing. And it still took 3 tries. So just a little history.
Were we one of the last communities to have kindergarten at all?
They last.
Yep. Yep. And remember, there's
That's why we
only
did it, 'cause
3.
the fund
It's
that was
Goffstown, New Boston, and Londonderry.
Okay.
O'Brien.
So, whoa, lots of questions.
Sorry.
Brian, you go first.
I got you first.
Oh,
Sorry.
thank you, Chair. This question is for Doug, and this is pertaining to the Capital Reserve Fund potential projects. And I apologize if this was discussed during the tour. I wasn't there. But for the first one, the replacement of multiple doors, how many doors are we talking about?
So while Doug's looking for that number, if I can just give a little sense of what doors cost. Anytime we're talking about exterior doors, these are steel doors. If they're single doors or if they're double doors, the double doors are around $10,000 per set. So it is pretty remarkable how expensive they are and how quickly they add up. We've had a very robust plan over the years to try to replace doors, to do things proactively. We shared the other day that we've had good success with our SAFE grants. We've done doors through that. So we've done a lot of doors over the years. Doug, do you have?
Yeah, so it would be 11 double doors that range in price from $10,460, where most of them are around that amount, up to one double door being $13,985, and then 4 single doors, which were $2,300 each.
Okay.
Go
Chair? I have a follow-up. Thank you for that. And a second question, a few down, concerning the wooden chairs and tables. Same question, how many sets would that be?
So that's actually a little bit easier for us because that's where we're sitting right now.
Right, exactly.
So if we look at that, it would be to kind of replicate what we have here. And the goal is to buy furniture of quality that could last the same amount of time that this furniture has lasted as well. So, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think it's 16 of these doubles,
Okay.
4 of the squares, and then the corresponding chairs.
And not that?
Not that side.
Okay, so
Yep.
just in this area?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Doug?
Sure, thank you. In terms of demographics and geographics, I mean, I'm assuming we have all the addresses of the kids. Is there, are you looking at that in terms of seeing where all the new kids are coming from?
Yes, in fact, we have. We've actually engaged over the years a couple different times with a community planner named Mark Fougere, who had done some analysis for us looking at different developments. So when developments have come online, we've evaluated how many students came from those developments. So yes, we do all of that. What we're also seeing a significant increase in is the number of multi-generational housing. I think I shared this last week with you. So we're seeing a lot of adults moving in with their parents, adults with children moving in with their older parents. There's a lot of that as well.
So, a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of the growth in housing and these developments, I don't know what's coming online for that now, but are you seeing more from the multi-generational versus, I mean, what's kind of the growth from the new stuff? Is that, seems like that's minimal at this point.
Well, it's a combo. So it's definitely the new housing development. So we've seen a lot of enrollments from that Bog Road project.
Yeah.
It's also the existing sales of current homes.
Okay.
So if somebody maybe had a couple of children, their children are older, they're no longer enrolled in the school system, that person sells their house, chances are pretty good the person buying that house has kids.
Okay.
Historically, the community of Goffstown had around 13% of the residents of the town were school-age children. That number is slightly higher in New Boston. They have more kids. But that number for Goffstown has been fairly stable overall.
So it's more or less across the board, maybe, kind of?
I think it's a combination, Doug, of we've got, new developments, existing home sales, and the multi-generational.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Allison? You're done? Okay, Laura?
This goes back to right in the beginning, you had said something, and maybe I missed it or I'm not in the loop somehow, that the school board or the select board added some things that people were upset about, and I didn't notice anything, or is that not this conversation?
This is not, no.
Because I was like, what?
That's the select board.
Yeah, that's what I
This
thought,
is
but you
the school
mentioned it
board.
today, so I
Because
was
the
like,
select board finalized their budget last night.
okay. So I was like, I don't think this has to do with that.
No, it doesn't.
Since you
Olivia,
mentioned
let me
it.
go ahead.
So I guess I'm kind of confused why we're confused that the schools are getting crowded, since we've been talking for years about Maple Ave having a bubble or being too full, so it makes sense, right? That Mountain View is now crowded because they've all gone up. And almost all of the developments are in the Maple Ave area. And a lot of the houses with multifamilies are in that area also. So I mean, I guess, like, we just need to talk about the fact that we don't have room in our schools at this point. Like, it's not, like, surprise, we didn't see this coming. Like, this has been going on for years and years and years.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, Olivia, not only has this been going on for years, let's just remember how many portable classrooms we have in the community of Goffstown. Not real proud of this, but over the course of my tenure, we have done 4 portable classrooms at Bartlett. So there are the library is a 2-classroom modular, and there are 2 other classrooms at Bartlett, so there's 4. We have an additional 4 units at Maple Ave, plus the 2 original modulars that were out in the front of the building, plus what we did at Glen Lake, which is an additional another 4 to 6 classrooms as well. So we essentially have about the equivalent of 1 entire school building that is prefabbed modular construction buildings that are either temporary, and by the way, most of them we got used secondhand. So they were old when we got them, and we still have them. So I think this is reflective of how we try to run the school system. We recognize in the state of New Hampshire, and again, I told you last week I wasn't going to do this, but the state continues to not meet its constitutional obligation to fund an adequate education for every child. And no one can tell me that that's not true. That's number one. Number two, building aid is gone. There's a set finite amount for building aid. You have to apply for it years in advance and be approved well before you even put the project on your warrant article. It's a really broken system. So do we feel like we could come to the budget committee and to the community and say, yeah, I know there's no building aid, and I know we only get $4,000 per student, but we'd like to do a $15 million addition so that we don't have kids in modular classrooms. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
To follow up on your point though, Olivia, I mean, maybe I've gotten this wrong. I mean, my understanding was that the overall district enrollment is steady.
Steady.
So it hasn't gone up.
But certain grades have, so that still affects how things go. So say high school kids are graduating and kids haven't, like, I know kids move up, but if all of a sudden there's a ton of first graders, they're gonna follow up through the school.
Right, but we're looking at sustained growth at the elementary level. This isn't just a bubble. This is over year after year after year.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that all the building and the majority of the sales in the town are happening on the Maple Ave side. Like, you know, like houses get sold in Clarkville, obviously.
But that's still, the numbers wise, that is strange that you're seeing, you must be seeing a decrease in the high school. It's gotta be offset somewhere.
Well, it's a little offset at Glen Lake.
Right.
So there's
Okay.
been a little bit of a reduction at Glen Lake. Glen Lake, you may remember a few years ago, Glen Lake was really high.
Yeah.
Guess what? Those kids are all at Maple Ave now,
Okay.
right? Those kids are all at Maple Ave now. So Glen Lake has gone down a little bit in the total number.
And Bartlett's gone down a little
Yep.
bit too.
So Bartlett at one point, I'm not sure that it's captured on your sheet, but we had 215 students at Bartlett not that many years ago.
Right.
So Bartlett has gone down a little bit.
Yep.
But I still anticipate Bartlett to go back up.
Right.
So when we think about these developments and some of the enrollments, I do anticipate Bartlett will increase. And one of the things that the school board has had conversations about is if we all of a sudden get a large influx, say from the Bog Road development, I can't send those kids to Maple Ave. I don't have room. So we probably will be in a situation that we're either doing a redistricting, where we are redistributing all of our elementary students between Bartlett and Maple with different lines so that the numbers work out, or something of that nature. All of which are not very popular, by the way. People really don't like to redistrict elementary schools.
So the anomaly with Goffstown is that everybody else's enrollments are going down dramatically and ours are not.
The state of New Hampshire as a whole has seen significant decreases over the last 15 years in the number of public school children. Absolutely.
But not Goffstown.
Right?
Okay.
Just as an example, there are communities that have lost a lot of kids. So before I came here 18 years ago, I worked in Londonderry. From the time I left Londonderry to a couple of years later, they lost over 1,000 kids. So their numbers went down, their numbers are now going back up. So it does ebb and flow. It does ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And certainly, these are wonderful towns. If you have families and kids, this is a great place to raise your kids, a great place to put your roots down and be in a community that cares about kids and wants to, be home for you. So, yeah.
Okay. James?
Totally out of the scope of this meeting, but I'm just going to ask it. Why are we approving all these new developments if we clearly do not have the space to house the students?
That's a planning board question.
Yeah, it's a planning
Right,
board
just
question.
throwing it out there for thought.
And if,
Well,
Go to a planning board
I
meeting
was-
and complain.
Yeah.
Well,
I could add to that. I think that's a fair question. The school board did vote on several of these projects to go and give input to the planning board on them. So the school board did that.
Did you have anything, Brian's a former member of the planning board. Did you have something you want to say?
Well, just personally, there's no way of slowing it down because we're following the state statute in regards to the building regulations. We can't tell a developer what they can and cannot do. Now, personally, there is something you can do, but it goes against my probably philosophy and personal property rights. There has been some townships where they put forth a moratorium to slow down development, but I wrestle with that because, again, you're telling the developer they can't build, so. There's not an easy answer.
It gets messy, right? Because
It
there's
gets
a
messy.
housing crisis.
Yeah,
and,
that's what I was gonna
everything
say.
else. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
it's not a simple thing
Yeah, it's not simple.
at all.
I just wanted to comment, on page 5 of this packet, it has the school enrollments. And so, I mean, we can see like over the past 5 years, you know, it's been up 20, it's been down 30, it's been up 20, it's been down 20, it's down 10. So is this number, this is that historical enrollment piece, maybe, I know, Maple Ave had said, is that number not correct, the 503?
It's at 507.
Okay. So yes, it's still like down 10-ish. But I guess I also think that, I understand that there's something to be said about Glen Lake. We really don't know those numbers. And, you know, it doesn't help if you're down, you know, 20 fifth graders, but you're up 10 first graders. Well, you still need a first grade classroom. It doesn't really help you. What else was I gonna say? I had another comment. Forget it.
Any other questions before we?
I got a quick one.
Izzy?
For the doors, I see the proposals from 2022. Are we sure these numbers are still good?
I believe there's a newer proposal, and that's why it's up to 130. So before we had it at like 110, I think, and we have bumped it up with a newer proposal. But like anything, right before we would do a project, we would get another proposal for it as well.
So also in this list of capital reserve, so it's potential projects, the school board has not settled on this, right?
That is
Has the
correct.
school board decided on their capital reserve fund request?
We've asked for 300,000, and that's where it's at right now as far as a warrant article request.
Yeah.
But it has not, I mean, it hasn't switched from 300,000 at this point.
Okay, so you don't know what is going to be done from this list or what you're going to propose to do from this list yet?
That is correct, because part of it has to do with, you know, if the drainage gets a lot worse, and that might kind of bounce back up. You know, obviously, some of the doors are very important, but do we do all the doors? I don't know. You know, do we do some of the doors this year and some of the doors the other year? We've been putting off the furniture in here for years, as well as the rugs are now quite old, both here and even older at the middle school. So part of it might be to try to get the rugs, the furniture, and then hold on the drainage for a little bit. But nothing's been fully decided at this point.
Okay. So the $1.6 million difference between the current budget and the proposed budget, those are all operating costs, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Are there any other questions? So we are obviously going to have a chance to revisit this. So the plan at this point is, town is coming Thursday and next Thursday, because we're off for Veterans Day. So you have the town for those 2 Thursdays. Then we're going to start our deliberations, and we're going to start with the town, and then come back to the school at the end. So we will have lots of chances to ruminate over this and prepare and get ready when we go through our line-by-line deliberations.
And if you think of something that would be beneficial, definitely email me, give me a call, and I can make sure that we have that information available when we come back at that point.
James?
Since you're talking procedure, Elizabeth, can we have Danielle send a separate email to the committee members saying that the packet has gone out? Because we had the issue with the school packet last time where it went out and then nobody got it, but we didn't know it went out.
Oh. Yeah, I'll
So,
talk to her
yeah,
about that.
Just some sort of fail-safe that, so we
Okay.
know that a packet went out, and if we don't have it, we need to follow up.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Yes, I'll bring that up with her.
I'm pretty sure that information is available on the town website if you wanted to get a sneak preview.
We just missed the email.
Yeah, no,
for
I
us,
got you.
so,
I got you.
yeah, I mean,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, any other business to come before the committee? All right, then I will entertain a motion.
I'll
Motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second?
all right. Brian made the motion,
Brian.
Doug seconded, all those in favor?
You almost had me.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Oh.